Have you ever felt a strange stirring in your soul, as if something or someone was trying to get your attention? Have you noticed moments in your life that don't feel like coincidence, moments that weigh heavy in your spirit, moments you can't explain but can't ignore? My friend, listen carefully, because when you feel that way, it may not be your imagination. It may not be your thoughts. It may not be random at all. It could be God Himself trying to speak to you. You see, God does not always speak in thunder, or in lightning, or in the parting of seas. Sometimes He does, but more often, He speaks in signs, in whispers, in the gentle closing of a door, in the painful ending of a relationship, in the quiet conviction of your heart. He speaks through silence. He speaks through absence. He speaks through those small moments you're tempted to overlook. And maybe, just maybe, the very things you're going through right now are not obstacles, not accidents, not punishments, but messages, signs that heaven is leaning close to you, trying to get your attention, trying to draw your eyes upward. And if you have been asking God, Lord, are you there? Do you see me? Do you hear me? Then this is your answer, because God is speaking right now to you. Sometimes the first sign that God is speaking is separation. You wake up one day and realize that the people you once trusted are no longer around. The friends who once walked with you have drifted away. The relationships you depended on have broken apart. And your heart aches because you wonder, why am I suddenly so alone? But let me tell you something. Separation is not always rejection. Sometimes separation is protection. Sometimes the very people you thought you needed were the very people God had to remove, because they could not go where He is taking you. Think about Joseph, loved by his father, but hated by his brothers, sold into slavery, betrayed, thrown into a pit. If Joseph had held on to those relationships, if Joseph had begged to remain in the comfort of home, he never would have stepped into the palace. Sometimes God has to cut ties so He can cut chains. Sometimes He has to take away what you cling to so He can give you what you were born for. And it hurts. I won't pretend it doesn't. Nights feel longer, the silence feels heavier. You cry into your pillow and wonder if you've done something wrong. But no, child of God, this is not punishment. This is pruning. You are being prepared. And the pain of separation is often the clearest sign that God is trying to speak. Think about Abraham. God told him to leave his family, leave his land, leave everything familiar, and go to a place God would show him. Abraham didn't have a map. He didn't have an address. All he had was a word, go. And in that word, hidden within the ache of separation, was a promise so much greater that through Abraham all nations would be blessed. Do you feel that in your own life? Do you feel people walking away? Do you feel doors closing behind you? Do you feel like you're standing alone with no one to understand you? Take heart. That is often the first sign that God is speaking. He is saying, I need to remove them so I can reveal myself to you. Sometimes the next sign is a closed door. You apply for the job, but the answer is no. You pray for the relationship, but it crumbles. You dream of the opportunity, but the door will not open no matter how hard you push. And you feel crushed because you think God is withholding. But friend, listen to me. Closed doors are not rejection. Closed doors are redirection. When God says no, it's because He is protecting you from a future you cannot yet see. He knows the danger behind that door. He knows the heartbreak hiding on the other side. And His no is not cruelty, it is mercy. Think about Moses. He longed to enter the promised land, but God said no. At first, that no felt heavy, but it was not punishment. It was a reminder that Moses' purpose was complete. He had led God's people as far as he was meant to. Closed doors are not the end of your story. They are simply the turn of a page. David experienced closed doors too. He was anointed to be king. But he spent years running from Saul, living in caves, hiding in the wilderness. Every time it seemed the throne was within reach, another door slammed shut. But those closed doors were shaping David. They were teaching him to depend on God, not his own strength. And in time, when the right door opened, David was ready to walk through it. Could it be that the doors closing in your life right now are not signs of God's absence, but signs of His presence? Could it be that the very opportunities you've been denied are the very ones that would have destroyed you? Friend, God is speaking through the no's, just as clearly as He speaks through the yeses. Sometimes the sign is pain, a heartbreak you didn't see coming, a loss that left you empty, a sickness that shook your faith. And in the middle of it you cried out, "God, where are you?" But here's the mystery. God often speaks the loudest in the language of pain. Job knew this language well. Stripped of everything, his family, his wealth, his health, sitting in ashes, crying out in confusion. Yet even in that agony, God was not silent. He was speaking through the storm, teaching Job a truth that would echo through eternity. That our faith cannot be rooted in blessings, but in the blesser himself. And maybe your pain is saying the same thing to you. Maybe it's God's way of pulling your roots deeper into Him. Maybe your tears are watering the very ground that will one day bring forth your testimony. Don't despise the pain. It may be the very sign that God is drawing near. And sometimes, after all the separation, after all the closed doors, after all the pain, comes the most gentle and powerful sign of all: peace. That unexplainable calm that settles in your soul, that stillness in the storm, that quiet assurance that says, "You are exactly where I want you to be." Elijah knew this peace. On the mountain, weary and afraid, he waited for God. A wind came, but God was not in the wind. An earthquake came, but God was not in the earthquake. A fire came, but God was not in the fire. And then a gentle whisper. That was God. Not in the chaos, not in the noise, but in the whisper. And maybe, right now, God is whispering to you, through the peace you feel when you pray, through the stillness that settles over you when you worship, through the quiet conviction in your heart as you listen to these words. Don't ignore that whisper. It is God's voice. My friend, if you're seeing these signs, the separation, the closed doors, the pain, the peace, don't brush them off as coincidence. Don't harden your heart. Don't ignore what heaven is trying to say. God is speaking to you right now. And this may be the very confirmation you've been waiting for. So listen, open your heart. Because the same God who spoke to Abraham, to Moses, to Joseph, to Elijah, to Job, to David, to Paul, and to Jesus is still speaking today, and He is speaking to you. If you feel this word was for you, let it sink deep. Let it change the way you see your season. And don't leave this moment without responding. Write in the comments, "I hear you, Lord." Share this message with someone you love. And subscribe to Hidden Truths of the Bible so you never miss another word that could change your life. Because remember, signs are not accidents. They are invitations. Invitations to lean closer, to trust deeper, to walk bolder. God is speaking. Don't miss His voice.